Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. Now, we're going to do an updates video. It's been a wee while since we've done an updates video, and I've had a number of topics that I've wanted to talk about specifically, but we're going to put them all together in this video. So, I won't waste any more time, we'll get straight into them. The first thing that, this is probably brand new, is looking at how consciousness dictates how part of your body works. Okay, and we all know that we're placed within this matrix world, or this reality that we have, which is really a limited reality for good reason, for us to kind of be manipulated at an energetic level. And so what we're talking about here is really a battle or war in regards to consciousness. And there are a number of different consciousness, not only our own. And this is kind of connected with what we deem an autoimmune response or autoimmune condition. Science and modern medicine define autoimmune disease as the body essentially attacking itself. Now, if we use common sense, for example, that does not make sense. Why would the body attack itself? Okay, the body is supposed to be a regenerating machine, so that does not make sense straight away. Perhaps it's the intelligence or the consciousness behind it that is dictating how that body or that part of the body works. And that has a lot more common sense to it and a lot more validity to it. And that's what we're finding here at Truly Holistic. So what we do is we look for the area where there is a rogue consciousness in it. We disconnect that consciousness. Quite often it can be using that body part as a battery source for its own need, or it can be just there and it's lowering the vibration and therefore creating that part of your body to not work well. And when really that equates to you suffering and therefore them feeding on that energy. So what we do is we just remove the consciousness, disconnect all connections to that consciousness, whether they're using it as a battery supply or just lowering the vibration, transmuting that energy in that area. And then all of a sudden we make the intent to activate that part of your body. And by making that intent to activate that part of your body, we're just bringing your own consciousness back in. Okay, and once your own consciousness back in, then it's going to make sure that that body part works well again. Light activations are going to take place into that body, therefore grow and regenerate, not degenerate. And that's what the whole Ascension thing is about, and light activations is to allow that part of you to keep regenerating and keep growing, instead of, if there's no growth and therefore no light activations, then that area is just going to degenerate. And what we're finding there is all of a sudden the body can then do what it's supposed to do and heal. Okay, so we've been doing that, and that's working really well. Another thing that I'm getting into is making more orgonite. Okay, and this has been something I've had around for a wee while, orgonite, but I've been getting to making my own tools, and especially with a particular qubit, which I call the activation qubit. And this was a qubit measure that was given to me through my channel, through my own source and my lineage, because my purpose was to calibrate more of us to enable these light activations to take place. Okay, what's happening really at a frequency level, because this is really the core of what we are. At a frequency level, we're just for vibration and frequency, that there is frequency that's compatible with us and there's frequency that's not. And the frequency that's not is lowering our vibration and allowing light activations to not take place. And when light activations are not taking place, we suffer and we degenerate. Okay, so what we've been working on is obviously allowing light activations to take place, and looking at where orgonite fits in that piece of the puzzle in regards to with these tools, and using this activation qubit amongst it. So I'm coming up with ideas of making a cell phone tab, which you can put on the back of your cell phone, that will incorporate orgonite, which is essentially resin, metal shavings, and crystals, but coupling it with this activation qubit, because the activation qubit is bringing in the activation ability, or light activation ability, from source into wherever you place it. So if you're placing that on a phone, all of a sudden you've got a device that's not transmuting non-compatible field to lower your vibration. It's going to do the complete opposite. We're going to just flip that around, and it's going to allow you to activate at a quicker rate, light activations. It's actually going to charge you up. So we're going to turn a device that is lowering your vibration, robbing your energy, into the complete opposite and charging your energy. And this is the whole thing about, whether we get into Wi-Fi, 5G, cell phone towers, all these sorts of things. It's just a frequency game. Okay, they're giving non-compatible frequency out, but if we understand how it works, we can just flip that around, because that's what energy does. It transmutes. Energy doesn't start and finish. You just transmute and flip the energy around. And if you've got the tools at your disposal to do that, then you can do that. And that's the big thing about me putting out this activation pack, which is all these different tools that you can use around home, whether that's on your phone, or whether that's on your food and water supply, whether that's on the electricity in your house, the daily electricity, which we're going to talk about in this video. Then we can just transmute that energy into something that's positive, and it's going to allow you to activate certain parts of your body. So coming back to Orgonite. Orgonite is essentially, for anybody that doesn't know what Orgonite is, it's essentially resin that encapsulates metal shavings, and that could be a number of different types of metals with crystals as well. So if we look at what the basis of what Orgonite is that metal shavings are amplifiers, okay? Amplifies frequency, okay? When you put a crystal there, crystal's emitting a frequency, and then the metals amplify that frequency. So that connects with when we look at disease and health problems, let's bring up autism. And they say autism is because of a build-up of metals or heavy metals, right? Or dementia, or these types of problems. It's not the metals that are the problem, it's just that the metals amplify a frequency, and if you're being emitted or being trapped within frequency of 5G, Wi-Fi, cell phone towers, all these frequencies are not good for us. If we've got metal within the body, it's just going to amplify that effect to create disease and create degeneration. And that's what we see with autism, and that's what we see with a lot of conditions. So it's not the metals that are the problem. Metals, if you get the right frequency, the metals can be your best friend. Okay? So we need to look at it that way. Again, it's just transmuting field or transmuting vibration and frequency. So Orgonite, the whole idea of Orgonite is using that same approach, but doing it in a healing way instead of a harmful way. Okay, so so I'm going to be incorporating a lot more Orgonite with the tools that I'm making. And that's something that's going to be coming to Truly Holistic. Other things I've been focusing on is the moon. Okay, what is the moon and how it influences our healing capabilities or our energy. And to keep a long story short, I had a client who had bought the small neutralization ring and sun ring from me. And I've got a little neutralization ring here. That's it there. And she'd gone to work one day, and she was had them at her desk, and she had a client that came in. It was a little girl that came in, and she straight away noticed these two little rings and inquired what were they. So my client lifted them up and had a neutralization ring, and then had the sun ring. And the sun ring's called the sun ring because it looks like the sun, and it emits the frequency or the energy of the sun. And then lifted this one up, and straight away the little girl, without any hesitation, said, that's the sun, and then that's the moon. And so straight away I was thinking, I've never looked at the neutralization ring as the moon before. So straight away I got dowsing on the topic, and I've asked, is it facilitating the moon energy? Because I know a lot of healers out there that use the moon for healing, right? And they see the moon as something beneficial. So we dowsed upon it, and straight away it said, no, it doesn't facilitate the moon energy, but it draws and pulls out the negative effect of the moon energy. So straight away, that kind of allowed massive downloads of information to come through of how the moon is affecting us. And you had heard from people like David Icke talking about how the Saturn moon matrix in regards to how it's affecting our health. And straight away I got to find out that there was a bit of a duality happening between our sun and our moon. The sun is the light giver. It's what we call source, right? And then the moon is what is drawing, or the gravitational force that's drawing the light out of us. So that's why people on a full moon, the full moon is like symbolism of harvesting of light from us in regards to the moon. Because the light that we see in the moon is not the moon's light, it's just a reflection of the sun's, right? If we look at it that perspective. So straight away I realized that, okay, the moon is drawing this gravitational effect, our light out of us, and that's why, people that have got a tendency for psychosis then can really lose themselves in regards to a full moon, and we know that the full moon affects us very energetic, sensitive people in a deep way, empaths and so on. So straight away I realized that, hey, there was a lot of rogue consciousness connected and bound to the moon, and we had to work on that. And it depends on the level, the perception or the perspective of way we look at the moon. If we look at the moon on a 3D reality, we kind of look at the moon as a rock that circles around the earth, right? If we go to a 4D idea, we may look at the moon as an artificial base, okay, and something that is there that's housing ET or housing vibration and frequency that's not good for us. But if we go even further and we look at it from a 5D point of view, we can look at the moon as perhaps a portal or a gateway or a black hole. And so they're all correct, depending on your perception or perspective of view. Again, it's the same thing for the people out there that think the Earth's flat. Well, when we look at the Earth as being flat, we're looking at it in a 2D form, aren't we? We're looking at it as a circle. It's a bit as when we look up in the sky and we look at the sun. We see it as a disk. We see it as a 2D form, right? But then when we look at the Earth as a 3D form, it's a sphere. So can we say one's wrong and one's right? No, it depends on your perception or perspective. Okay, so straight away I was finding that the moon was a gateway for negative vibration, negative consciousness coming through from another reality into this one and then affecting the Earth. So we got into closing that gateway and then removing the consciousness that was affecting us. And I tell you, it was blowing people away in sessions, including myself. Some very powerful energies that were affecting people, and we were using the neutralization ring to draw moon energy out of people, and people were noticing huge changes when we were doing that. So there was the validity to say that the moon energy was causing people problem. So we've been working a lot on the moon, okay, and we're getting places in regards to that. Removing the negative effects of the moon. And the moon, like anything, has a true consciousness to it, and we're trying to enable that true consciousness of the moon to come through instead of all these other consciousness, including lunar consciousness, that's kind of masking probably the moon's true capabilities and using the moon for a negative effect. Another thing I'm going to mention we've come across is implant, an emitter of frequency that's in the pituitary gland. Now, the pituitary gland is quite often called the master gland because it controls the entire endocrine system. And when we're talking about the endocrine system, we're talking about glands, and therefore we're talking about hormones. And quite often you'll hear that, that the hormones are described as the things that are the master switches of our health in general. They can really have an effect on our emotional well-being, okay? And emotions are huge in regards to your energy. When you break the word emotion down, it's energy and motion, right? So the emotions are vital, and we've found the connection with emotions are vital to our DNA, and what DNA is our coding. It's like our blueprint of how things are going to work. So, if that pituitary gland, the master gland of everything, every gland, every hormone in your body is being affected by this, we're kind of calling it an implant at this point. It's an implant, it's an emitter of which connects to frequency, okay? And where we're having the problems in regards to this implant is it's connecting to these frequencies like 5G, HARP, Wi-Fi, and then that's having an effect on how your hormones are being balanced and your endocrine system's being balanced. So this has been huge for anybody that is very sensitive to energies. And as I say, this is all a vibration and frequency game. Chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, all these things are massively impacted by all these frequencies like 5G, like Wi-Fi, like HARP, cell phone towers. These are all things that deactivate you, okay? And when we're talking about ascension, ascension is about frequency that's coming in and activating components of you that were dormant. Okay, it's the whole thing about talking about DNA. Mainstream science calls DNA that's not activated junk DNA because we're not using it, so it's not important. It is important. It's just the frequencies are not there to activate, and quite often a lot of these other frequencies that's harming us are deactivating us. Okay, so that lowers our vibration, lowers our capabilities to enhance ourselves and become light beings. Okay, so what we've been doing is we've been deactivating that implant within the pituitary gland, and that's allowing you to have more protection in regards to the Wi-Fi, the 5G, and the HARP, and stopping those frequencies from deactivating you, and therefore allowing you to continue to activate and grow and evolve, which is all what Ascension is all about. So that's been a really good clearing. Another thing that I've been focusing on a lot is light, okay? In particular, like the light spectrum, okay? And remember the light spectrum of what we see with our eyes, okay? Our eyes are locked into this 3D reality because, again, as I say, we're in this matrix reality. We're limited to a certain frequency or spectrum of frequency, which the visible spectrum is less than 1% of all light there is, okay? And when you think about a lot of the systems we have in place, a lot of science, a lot of modern medicine is all based on what we can see, okay? And a lot of people that bring up topics about things that we do not see with our eyes get ridiculed a lot. And quite often they get told, where's your scientific proof? Like, science is the yardstick to everything. But if science is based on what we can see, it's based on less than 1% of what is possible. So straight away, that shows there's no validity to using science as a yardstick anymore. And really, the true reality is the future of science is quantum physics. And quantum physics is actually exploring the things that we cannot see. Hence, true quantum healing that we do here at Truly Holistic. So when we talk about light, there's a big emphasis on blue light being very energetic. Okay, and if we bring in blue light from one scale, we go into blue and purple, and then at the bottom scale, red light. Okay, and that they're saying that's lower energy. I'm finding the opposite. Okay, because I'm seeing a lot more validity with if we look at this reality as a duality reality. Okay, that's why we see love and fear. We have two arms, we have two eyes, man, woman. Okay, and there's a lot of conflict involved when you have polar opposites. Now, blue light, for example, the blue light that we get from our screen devices, like the screen device I'm looking at now, or a computer, is completely different to the light that we get from the sun. We can say, oh, there's blue light coming from our screens, there's blue light coming from the sun, especially at midday, and that's what activates the duality eyes, and that's why they're open, is that it's completely different because it depends the consciousness behind that frequency of light, okay? What is channeling, what consciousness is channeling that frequency? If it's through the sun, we're pretty safe to say that's source energy. But if it's coming through technology, what type of AI kind of consciousness is coming through that frequency? So the frequency or the light frequency we're getting from our screen devices is not the same as what we get from the sun. Now, getting back to the duality eyes, that blue light opens up, so that's what keeps us awake during the day, right? Is this blue light from the sun. Now, when the sun is about to set, a lot of people use that last disc or two to sun gaze because we're told that's the only time where we can actually look at the sun safely. Now, what you'll notice with the sun at that time is the sun is more of an orangey, reedy tinge, right? The UV is zero now because of the blue light. The green light's completely gone, okay? And what happens there is our third eye, which is our singularity eye, one eye to two, is all of a sudden able to awaken, okay? And that's when the hormone melatonin is produced. and there's so much connection with melatonin with the initiation of sleep. Okay, and the thing is the red light, the orangey red light, is activating the singularity eye, which we call the third eye too, right? And it closes the duality eyes. Okay, so think about that. The duality eyes are connected to this matrix reality. Our singularity eye, third eye, is more connected to a higher self or a consciousness level. So looking beyond the 3D, okay, where these two eyes cannot take us. So there is a lot of validity between orange and red light being very beneficial to us if we want to ascend further than the 3D and increase our consciousness level. Orange and red light is where it's at, okay, not blue light. Okay, so you'll see there's also a big there's big business in regards to blue blocking glasses or sunglasses now. Especially for people looking at screens a lot and looking at their computers a lot. And that's why we have such an epidemic also of insomnia issues, is that people are looking at screens late at night, which are sources of blue light. And it's stopping this third eye, this pineal gland, opening and therefore secreting melatonin, and people therefore have problems with sleep. So I've been getting into that light and that more from the perspective of the duality eyes connecting to blue light and the singularity eye connecting to orange and red light. So keep that in mind in regards to wanting to grow your consciousness level. Other than that, I think we have covered essentially all the updates of what's been happening in regards to here at Truly Holistic. And I hope you've really enjoyed the information that I've been giving to you in regards to this updates, and there'll be more information to come. If you have any questions, just post below and I'm happy to answer them. And if you'd like to book a session with me, go to my website at trulyholistic.net and book a session there, and we can work on a number of things, whether that's any health problem that you can think of. I've heard of it, we've worked on it, and we've got great success with. If you're wanting just to awaken yourself to more possibilities, increase your consciousness, ascend at a quicker rate and activate more of yourself, come and book a session at Truly Holistic and I'll be able to help you with that. Not only we can do the clearings that are required to do that, but I can empower you with the tools that you may require to be empowered yourself to increase ascension for you at an alarming rate. So just get in touch with me at trulyholistic.net, where, as I say, you can get in touch with me through my YouTube channel here by just posting a comment below. Anyway, until we see each other again, see you later.